Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the top 10 best presidents in United States history. These leaders have left an indelible mark on the nation and the world. But before we get started, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room, or should I say the donkey and the elephant. Ranking presidents is inherently subjective. What makes a good president? Is it their ability to navigate crises, to implement lasting reforms, or to inspire the nation? It's a complex question with no easy answers, and frankly, it's a question historians will debate for centuries. This isn't about crowning the ultimate leader, but rather about celebrating the individuals who, in their own ways, shaped the United States into the country it is today. So, buckle up as we embark on this historical roller coaster, exploring the triumphs, the struggles, and the legacies of these 10 remarkable presidents. First up, the big cheese himself, George Washington. He wasn't just a general who led the Continental Army to victory. Washington was also the president everyone looked up to. He set the standard for leading a new nation. He chose to step down after 2 terms, solidifying the peaceful transfer of power. That set a precedent shaping American democracy. No historical figure is without flaws, and Washington's legacy is intertwined with slavery. But his impact on the United States is undeniable. He was the leader America needed at its inception. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, faced a nation on the brink of collapse. The Civil War, a brutal conflict over slavery and states' rights, threatened to tear the nation apart. Lincoln's commitment to preserving the Union and his eloquence held the country together. His Gettysburg Address remains one of the most powerful speeches in American history. The Emancipation Proclamation was a turning point in the fight against slavery. Tragically, Lincoln was assassinated just days after the war's end. His legacy as the president who saved the Union remains firmly etched in history. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or FDR as he's often called, took office during the darkest days of the Great Depression. The nation was reeling from economic turmoil, unemployment was rampant, and hope seemed like a distant memory. But FDR, with his infectious optimism and can-do spirit, rallied the American people. He implemented a series of programs known as the New Deal, aimed at providing relief, recovery, and reform. From creating jobs through public works projects to establishing Social Security, FDR's policies fundamentally reshaped the role of government in American life. He understood that the government had a responsibility to help its citizens, especially in times of crisis. And let's not forget, he led the country through World War II, demonstrating unwavering leadership on the global stage. FDR's presidency was transformative, leaving an enduring legacy of social programs, economic intervention, and global leadership. Chapter 4. Thomas Jefferson, The Paradox of Liberty. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence and our third president, is a figure shrouded in contradictions. He championed liberty and individual rights, yet owned slaves. He believed in a limited federal government, yet oversaw the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the size of the United States. Jefferson's legacy is complex and multifaceted. He remains a towering figure in American history, revered for his intellect, his contributions to the founding of the nation, and his articulation of democratic ideals. But we must also grapple with the uncomfortable truth of his slave ownership and his role in perpetuating the institution he so eloquently condemned in his writings. Jefferson's story reminds us that history is not black and white, but rather a tapestry woven with threads of both progress and injustice. Chapter 5. Theodore Roosevelt, the trust-busting conservationist cowboy. Theodore Roosevelt, often referred to as TR, was a force of nature. He burst onto the political scene with boundless energy, a booming voice, and a commitment to reform. As a progressive, he took on powerful corporations, busting trusts and advocating for workers' rights. He was a staunch conservationist, establishing national parks and protecting millions of acres of wilderness. "Speak softly and carry a big stick," he famously said, and he lived by those words. TR believed in American power on the world stage, but he also believed in diplomacy and using that power responsibly. He was larger than life, a true American original, and his presidency marked a turning point in the country's embrace of progressive ideals and its role as a global power. Chapter 6. Harry S. Truman, the accidental president who rose to the occasion. Harry S. Truman, a relatively unknown senator from Missouri, became president after the sudden death of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Thrust into the spotlight at the end of World War II, Truman faced a series of monumental decisions. He authorized the use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a decision that remains controversial to this day. He oversaw the beginning of the Cold War, implementing the Truman Doctrine and the Marshall Plan to contain the spread of communism. Truman was a no-nonsense leader, known for his decisiveness and his willingness to take on tough challenges. He famously said, "The buck stops here," emphasizing his belief in taking responsibility for his actions. He may have been an accidental president, but Harry S. Truman proved to be a man of great consequence, shaping the post-war world and setting the stage for the decades-long struggle against communism. Chapter 7. Dwight D. Eisenhower, From General to President. Dwight D. Eisenhower, or Ike, as he was affectionately known, was a war hero who became president. As the supreme commander of Allied forces in Europe during World War II, he had led the D-Day invasion and the liberation of Europe from Nazi tyranny. As president, he brought his military experience and his calm demeanor to the White House. He oversaw the end of the Korean War, strengthened the nation's defenses during the Cold War, and presided over a period of economic prosperity. Eisenhower understood the dangers of unchecked military spending, famously warning against the influence of the military-industrial complex. He believed in a balanced approach, investing in infrastructure, education, and scientific research. While not without his critics, Eisenhower is remembered as a steady hand during a turbulent time, a president who guided the nation through challenges both foreign and domestic. Chapter 8. Woodrow Wilson, a legacy of idealism and disillusionment. Woodrow Wilson, a scholar and former president of Princeton University, brought his idealism to the presidency. He led the United States into World War I with the goal of making the world safe for democracy. After the war, he championed the creation of the League of Nations, a forerunner to the United Nations, hoping to prevent future global conflicts. Domestically, Wilson oversaw progressive reforms, including the passage of the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote. However, his presidency was also marked by contradictions. He oversaw the segregation of the federal workforce, and his vision for the League of Nations ultimately failed to gain the support it needed in the U.S. Senate. Wilson's legacy is a complex one, a mix of lofty ideals and disappointing realities. Chapter 9. John F. Kennedy, Camelot, and the End of Innocence. John F. Kennedy's presidency was brief, tragically cut short by an assassin's bullet, but his impact on American culture and politics was profound. He embodied youth, charisma, and a spirit of optimism that captivated the nation. His inaugural address, with its famous call to ask, "Not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country," inspired a generation to public service. Kennedy navigated the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense standoff with the Soviet Union that brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, with courage and restraint. He championed the space race, setting the ambitious goal of landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade. Kennedy's presidency, often romanticized as Camelot, represented an era of hope and progress, but it also highlighted the fragility of life and the enduring power of idealism in the face of adversity. Chapter 10. Ronald Reagan, the Great Communicator. Ronald Reagan, a former Hollywood actor, brought his charm and his conservative principles to the White House. He believed in limited government, lower taxes, and a strong national defense. Reagan's presidency marked a turning point in American politics, ushering in an era of conservative dominance. He challenged the Soviet Union, famously calling it the evil empire, and his policies are credited with contributing to the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. Domestically, Reagan's economic policies, known as Reaganomics, remain a subject of debate, with supporters pointing to economic growth and opponents arguing that they led to increased income inequality. Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Ronald Reagan left an undeniable mark on American politics, and his presidency continues to shape political discourse today. Outro: the debate continues. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more historical insights. Let us know in the comments who you think should be on this list. Remember, this list is just a starting point for a much larger conversation about leadership, legacy, and the ever-evolving story of the United States. History is never truly finished, and the actions of our leaders, both past and present, continue to shape the world we live in. So keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep learning.